and my dad kept saying he would build it for me, and he finally did. It took like 7 months, but this is to put my records in and to just have more storage in my room. So this is another thing for us to set up in this room. Ow! Ow! We're having a discussion here in his language. He meows without the M. Ow! 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 I got you, young man. Hey guys, welcome to another reading vlog from me and Fred. Let's look at the weekly quote here. Again, from Ella Montgomery, and oh my gosh, this thunder is loud. But Ella Montgomery, so many of these quotes have been from her. True friends are always together in spirit. And that is so true. You can live miles and miles apart, especially in the day and age of having internet friends and everything. I have honestly, I have no friends in my hometown. Everybody lives elsewhere, so that's the thing. You can be miles apart, but you're always together in spirit. And I think, again, it's just so amplified now that we have social media. And I'm sorry to hear the dog whining. It's thundering. Dogs are scared of thunderstorms. So let's see what books I'm reading this week. I actually haven't read anything this week yet. It is Monday, and I have just been cleaning, working out, working, so I have not been able to read yet. Monday's always my busiest day of the week, but first we have the one that I do read when I work out. Today I didn't because I went on a walk because it was not raining, but now it is pouring down rain. So this is Misbehaving at the Crossroads by Henri Jeffers. This one is an essay collection about being a Black woman in the United States. Next we have The Main Focus, which I could finish. I think I'll finish it tomorrow, and I have been thinking I'll finish it on Tuesday. But yesterday I read over 100 pages, and I'm like, how did I do that? But this is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This was my favorite book as a teenager, but now I think the first book might actually be better. Yeah. So this is the sequel to The Hunger Games. Sparks are igniting, flames are spreading, and the Capitol wants revenge. In Catching Fire, the second novel of the Hunger Games trilogy, Suzanne Collins continues the story of Katniss Everdeen, testing her more than ever before and surprising readers at every turn. So that's our main focus, and I'm reading it on my Kindle. Next we have my mood read, which I'm doing the audiobook for, and that is Madam by Phoebe Wynne. We have our main character, and this is like a thriller. It's set in the early 1990s. We have our main character of Rose, who is a teacher, and she gets a job at this very pretentious boarding school in Scotland that a lot of the nobility of England send their daughters to. It's an all-girls boarding school, and everything there might not be as it seems. Lastly, we have my mood read, or not mood read, my ebook read, which again, doing it on my Kindle. This is Ken Follett, book 3 of the Century Trilogy, Edge of Eternity, and this is following this whole series is following interconnected families through the whole 20th century, and right now Watergate is what is happening in the story. So that is everything that I am currently reading. I need to film a few more TikToks, but I just needed to charge my phone a little bit. But I got my first blind date with a book this weekend, so stay tuned. In probably about a month's time, I will have that short posted because I am about to open my first blind date with a book, which is super exciting. And also I got some books from Goodwill that I might show y'all, but I got them over the weekend, but I put them in the freezer because I do have an outdoor freezer where we would just put extra food, but now, like, you know, that we don't really need it for food anymore. So I have been putting books in there to kill mold, fleas, bed bugs, whatever might get into used books when you get them at the thrift store. And I put them in there for the first time, but they did get kind of sweaty when I took them out because it is so humid where I live, subtropical weather, right? So I got those out and have dried them off and need to just see if they're good, you know, make sure they didn't get any damage, because this was my first time ever freezing books. But now I currently have more books in the freezer that I got, because I got the ones that I just got out, I got on Friday. Then the ones that are in there now, I got on Saturday. So again, I need to go film some TikToks, but I wanted to get this intro filmed. It's time to talk about Catching Fire, and having my clock right there is so fitting for what I just read. If you know, you know. But we have my notes on my phone, so I got to 91%, just to show y'all what that looks like. in the book. And just random thought, I think I lent out these books when I was in 6th grade, so I'm curious of who all read these same books. Kind of like a library book, you know, but I got to, I read 90 pages. I don't remember exactly what page number that was, but chapter 25 is where I'm stopping for the night. And I'm going to go through the notes on my phone here. Did read on the Kindle, but I think seeing your annotations on the app is better than on the Kindle. So we had this one moment where somebody is giving somebody else like CPR and Katniss is like shook and doesn't realize what is happening. I'm like, how do you not know about that? Because she's coming from a place of coal mines, and I feel like that's gonna have to happen every so often, but then she does eventually be like, oh, but I'm like, how do you not? Because like her mom is a healer and everything. I don't know. But something I realized with this book, that it definitely has second book syndrome. Now, I think if you're reading this for the first time or seeing that movie for the first time, there's going to be a lot of wow, there's going to be a lot of plot twists. Like, you're going to be shook. But this is somebody who's reading this for the second time. I saw the movie like 5 times. I don't know how many times I saw the movie, but I saw it quite a few times. And so I know what's coming and everything. And then obviously when you're at this point, you're like, okay, they're not going to kill off so-and-so because they're going to be needed in the next book. But with the title, I thought about this, like, after I finished reading for the day. I was like, oh, well, you gotta light that spark for a rebellion. I don't know if it goes to a full-blown war or anything like that, but you gotta light that spark to start something bigger. And I think that is what is happening here. We're trying to light that spark to lead to a bigger thing, because this just all feels like a lot of building, and especially the first half of the book. I was like, come on. Like, I was just bored, because it's like, okay, and there was a lot of telling rather than showing, and it was just frustrating to read. And then we have our love triangle, which I'm not really a love triangle person. Maybe when I was like 12 or 13 when I was reading this. I was 12 when I was reading this for the first time. I was like, ooh, who's she gonna choose? But now I'm like, I don't care for a love triangle, and they just kind of annoy me. Do they ever happen in real life? No. So there was just a lot of like that romance, and I just found that annoying. But something we see here, because we see all these different victors who have won the Hunger Games in the past, and it's just so interesting to see how they all deal with money and fame and being sent straight to the top, because a lot of these people come from impoverished communities, but once you win the games, you get all the money in the world, all the food, you get electronics, books, you know, you can get anything you want, basically. And so we're seeing how everybody handles that. Some go to drugs, some go to drinking, some just go on to live like normal lives, you know, starting a family and all of that, and some just have all this free time on their hands. It's like, what do you do with yourself? Because you don't have to work anymore. You are set for life, and you can just do whatever you want. And a lot of people who are coming from this situation, they don't know how to handle that. And I thought that was really interesting to look at. And then we have it starts at midnight, Plutarch said, and I just never put the 2 and 2 together, that scene that's earlier in the book connects to what then happens, connects to like a big grander scale. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how did I not pick up on that? That's so fascinating. But those are my thoughts on Catching Fire for the day. So yes, we will most likely be finishing it tomorrow. I mean, there's not a lot left. I think there's some like 20 to 30 pages left, I would say. I don't remember how many pages the book has. This one definitely has like second book syndrome, the middle kid syndrome, being between the two. Yeah, so I don't know if it would be different if I didn't read them back to back, if I read them spaced out. When I originally read them, I'm pretty sure I read them back to back, but again, who knows. I wasn't vlogging like I am now. I did start vlogging that same year though, so that's cool. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting if I read them with books in between, would I feel more shock or anything like that. So I'm not enjoying this one as much as the first book, but it's still a great book and I am having fun with it. Guys, I just got super exciting news that I'm going to be the commissioner in my fantasy football league this year. That is so much fun. I've never been one in a football league, so I can't wait to see how it goes and all of that. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. But I got to over 75% in Madam by Phoebe Wynn. I am cold to let y'all know. But I wanted to give y'all my thoughts so far. So the characters are my biggest issue. I really do not like Rose. It's just whiplash. Sometimes she's empathetic, sometimes she is just like very cold, and I can't root for this character because there's no real definite traits. It's always changing, it's wishy-washy, and I don't like that. Also, y'all know we are at a school setting, a boarding school, and it's all girls there, so I get the names of the other professors, all the students and what grade they are. I get all of that confused. The atmosphere is all right. Like, it's not doing a whole lot for me. It is taking place in Scotland, but yeah, it's not doing a whole lot for me. I do think this would be a good September book, but I'm not really recommending the book. The writing, I have no complaints about the writing. The plot is really good. If you're somebody who wants the taking down, if you want like anarchy, that again, like Eat the Rich kind of story here, but with a feminist twist, then that is what this plot is. And we have the classics. Our character Rose is a professor. I don't know what the right word is, but like teacher. They call them Madam. So she teaches classics. So if you don't know, classics is just about the ancient world, Rome, Greece. I saw Boudica is in the next section, which Boudica was in Roman times, but in Britain, and that's Briton, Britain, or Britannia, if we want to use the Roman word for it. So I have really liked those aspects, but I love how that is kind of interwoven with the plot of our story and how they reflect and bounce off one another. I think that's super cool. So yeah, the intrigue is good because at first I knew something wasn't right here, but then I got an idea of what was happening and I was satisfied with how that was handled. So the intrigue is good. The logic, again, good. The logic is good. I think a lot of this makes sense, and I do think something like this could sadly exist in our real world. Again, this is in the 1990s, so especially back then without the internet, and well, internet did exist and phones did exist, but not to the extent of what it is today. It's not doing a whole lot for me, and I get really frustrated with the character work, so I wouldn't really recommend it, but I still have a quarter of the book left, a little less than, because I'm at 77%, so we will just have to see where it goes, but I should finish this book this week. I just completed Catching Fire, so we are going to do the call pal for it, my review, my thoughts and everything for you guys. So I only read 36 pages in there today, so today's probably going to be a day where I don't get over 100 pages read, but that is a-okay. And also, y'all saw I got the bookcases brought in. Y'all only saw one of them. I didn't really do a good job of filming it because this tripod is short, and the cases are really tall, so I don't have any books sitting on the floor anymore, which is really nice. But we are going to go through the Catching Fire call pal. Okay, y'all can see the book. So the characters I am going to give a 4, so that's one down from the Hunger Games. With how it was kind of Katniss who annoyed me at times in the first book because she was so in her head, but it makes sense in this. It was Peeta, because Peeta would just get angry about certain things and all that, and it was annoying to read, but it makes sense that a 16 or 17-year-old boy, I don't know how old he is now, would feel these emotions, even though for me, I'm like, oh, that's so immature, but we have to remember how old he is. And then Still, I love the mental health depictions in this book because let me move my Kindle so I don't accidentally hit it because I'm waiting to put my star rating in there. But in these fantasy books, in these sci-fi books, this isn't fantasy, in these books that these characters are going through traumatic things, a lot of authors just are like, they're fine after that, they move on. But that's unrealistic. When you go through traumatic events, you're going to have trauma. And Suzanne Collins knows that very well and writes these characters as if they are real and they are just struggling, and I think it makes them incredibly realistic. And I didn't like was the romance and that love triangle. I just feel like, again, I mean, I guess it's probably realistic that these kids would be so focused on that, but for me it was just annoying to read about. And yeah, I guess it does add to the story. It adds I don't want to say angst, but it adds tension, I guess, to the story. Atmosphere, I'm going to keep the same that I did with the Hunger Games and give it a 4 because I still have a lot of questions, especially with that ending of who's funding this rebellion and how they were able to do it and how all of this is connected. Then with the AVOXs and the Peacekeepers, I have questions about that. But I do, see, it's hard. I do think this one did do better world building than the last one, but we're gonna keep that at a 4. Writing, again, a 4. I didn't love it as much as in the first book. This one just seemed a lot more long-winded. I don't remember how you say that. A lot more long-winded, and the chapters were a lot longer. I would definitely say there were pacing issues. Let me write that down so I remember to include that in my review. But the pacing, it just, the whole first half was so tedious for me because we're just going through the same thing like over and over. It's like, okay, there's a rebellion, certain districts are rebelling, we are at threat from the capital, something could happen to these characters at any moment. But it's just like, I'm like, okay, let's get to the point. And it feels like it's just building and building, and the building took too long. So that was my issue with the writing. The words itself I love because it's just blunt and everything. Plot, we're gonna go with a 4. This looks like somebody a straight up 4-star, but we're going with a 4 because, again, I love the themes of fame and what certain wealth, or not certain, when you get it right away, what is that word? Sudden, with sudden wealth, how money might not be the thing that fixes everything. It's really family, friends, having those people secure, and safety is the most important thing. It's not, money is not going to fix everything, and just how everybody deals with fame and wealth, how it's different for everybody. Also, we had the themes of, and how it's kind of talking with the pacing. This book overall feels like it is filler, and it is just getting us to having that first experience with the Hunger Games, but letting that spark grow into something bigger. And I think that's what the title of the book means, but it's just like, we have to go through this to get to that. That's ultimately what it feels like. And I was saying something about the themes, but again, I am forgetting. I don't know why my brain is so foggy right now. Probably because I just had my first caffeine of the day. But the themes of, we said money, wealth, fame, the mental health. I think the mental health played a huge part. I would actually kind of put that in the plot as well. So intrigue, yeah, I have to lower that to a 3 because, as I told you, that whole first half of the book, I was so bored. We were just going through the same thing like over and over again. There was a lot of telling rather than showing. Let me make note of that as well. Yeah, I've never done this before where I'm putting like the highlights of, you know, of the good and the bad. So I make sure to include them in my written review. But yeah, there was a lot of telling rather than showing. That can also kind of go into the writing. But I was just like, when's it going to happen? We're just beating around the bush, waiting for something big to happen. come on and happen already. Stop dragging me along. That is how I felt. But Logic is a 5. Little things, how they come up later, it was just so impressive to me. I was just like, wow. Oh, and the other thing with the plot, how the Capitol, it's all their fault. Even like, I think they know it's their fault, but they want to have a scapegoat, and Katniss is that scapegoat. But yeah, the Capitol with their wishy-washiness and just picking and choosing, I think led them to this situation. And so my enjoyment, I would say it was a 4-star. I still enjoyed the book, but not as much as I did the first book, which is crazy because this was my favorite book in the series when I originally read it. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 4 is 28 divided by 7. So yes, this is a straight up 4-star here. As I said, kind of shocked by that. And who is opening my door? Somebody's opening the door. Hey, Fred. So yes, we are giving it a 4-star. I will be starting Mockingjay. I think I'm going to start it tomorrow rather than tonight. But that will be our next read, and I will be doing it, I think, on audiobook. Oh my, if we burn, you burn with us. That's what it says on the page. Interesting. So there's my review for Catching Fire. I'm sorry you missed that. I don't know if you were listening outside the door, but it's a 4-star. Okay, we're gonna watch the movie now though. That's what we'll do after we write my review. I have several updates to do for y'all. It is Wednesday and we have started reading Mockingjay. So I do want to tell y'all like what this book's about, even though I'm already into the book. Sorry, it's about to heat here. The high today is 89, but this is Mockingjay, the 3rd book in the Hunger Games trilogy. So this is the book that wraps up the main trilogy, and for a while, it was for like 10 years, the last book. So I'm gonna say there might be spoilers in this description because this is the 3rd book in a series. So if you don't want those spoilers, skip ahead. But when I'm doing my thoughts and all, I avoid telling y'all the spoilery stuff, or at least what I think is spoilery. So for the description, my name is Katniss Everdeen. Why am I not dead? I should be dead. The success of the rebellion hinges on Katniss's willingness to be a pawn, to accept responsibility for countless lives, and to change the course of the future of Panem. To do this, she must put aside her feelings of anger and distrust. She must become the rebels' Mockingjay, no matter what the personal cost. So that is what I started today. But I did just get back from Target, and that's why I'm so hot, because I had to wait in the parking lot a little bit. But first things, they had Halloween stuff in the dollar spot. Like, they just skipped fall, went right to Halloween. But I mean, some of the pumpkins, you know, obviously you can make that fall. So this, I don't own anything like this. So it's like one of those fake books. This was for $5, by the way. And it said miraculous spells and potions, and you open it up and it just has a little storage compartment. So my desk is always very messy, and I'm just going to put my like journaling supplies, you know, my desk supplies. I'm like, what do you call all that kind of stuff? Like, oh my, this sounds really loud, but where's my dad cutting the grass? Okay, like the tape and stuff I'm going to put in there. So I'm gonna have mine laying flat like that, but you can stand it up and it looks like a fake book if you don't really have real books on your shelves. So the book that I picked up is one that has kind of intrigued me for a while. It is a romance book. I don't know what the tropes are, but I've heard that it has like that nostalgic, cozy, this series for the different seasons. Just starting out with fall. This is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It's the season to fall in love. And this is by Lori Gilmore, and I like wonder that's a fake name, like Gilmore, to get the Gilmore Girls fans out here. So I don't know, but when I went to add the book to my Amazon wish list, I saw that a hardback was coming out in August this week. And I was like, okay, I will just wait until then. I'm sure they'll have it at Target because I only saw the paperback at Target. And I think the paperback might even have like sprayed edges or something. But I was like, I really am a fall person. That's my color palette. When I had color analysis done, I love fall, so I want to get the special edition just because how fall it is. And that is what we have here. We have the pumpkin spice cafe. So we have these orange sprayed edges. We have a kitty down at the bottom. And then you can see like there's foiling on the leaves. Oh my gosh, look without the cover. We have, or yeah, without the dust jacket. We have like these pumpkins on it that again are like foiling. And let me show you all the end pages. So we have Logan's Farm right there. And then, yeah, the same thing on these end pages. So super cool, super fall. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. That is what I got at Target today. When I listen to an audiobook, I like to do arts and crafts, especially in this time of year because I tend to do puzzles in the fall and winter. So I'm going to do this paint your own monster truck kit. My update on Mockingjay. I got to 22%, which was 85 pages read, and I think it was 2 hours and 21 minutes listened to on the audiobook. So I have this many notes to go over with y'all. So yeah, I'm curious about District 13 and just the logistics of everything. But then we have like mentions of snakes, and that has me making theories about the next book, which is a prequel, because it does say snakes in the title. So just every time snakes get mentioned, I'm like, okay, are these Easter eggs? You never know. But we do have Katniss, who she is like recounting everything she's been through, trying to find sanity, basically trying to find herself in this whole mess. And I think that is really like good, if, because I mean obviously this book came out I think 2 years after the first book in the series, but you know there are gaps between when books came out, so you are having to, if you're not reading it back to back like I am, like we have that privilege to do now that the book has been released for 15 years, that you can, that before it would be good for getting you readjusted, reintroducing the story. I mentioned that even in the last book that the Capitol has bombers, you know, planes. So I'm curious why they have those. I get if there's rebellion in the districts, but you would think they would have had these just at the start of things. So I'm so curious about this world. Are there other countries, like, because this is in North America, is there stuff elsewhere like in other parts of the world, like Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, whatever, South America? Are there other groups of people? That's something I'm interested by. I don't know if we ever get that answered. And I think District 13 is in Washington DC, or in that mountain in Pennsylvania where like they have all the files inside. I haven't looked at a map of the districts in a while, in a very long time, but that is where I am thinking. And with this, we're just exploring all different kinds of governments. And it really just gives still our rebellion people, it still seems totalitarianism, but I mean, you have to think that is all they have known for however long this civilization has existed. We know at least 75 years. But I am, so it's really depicting what is the right way to rule? Is there a right way to govern people? And it looks like they're aiming to have a republic, and Katniss is like our ancestors had such a great job with that, leaving us with this world that we're in, having their nuclear wars and everything. Funny. But it is, so we're just exploring all these different kinds of government. And something that is so great about this series is these characters are so real. They all have their flaws. They all have been through stuff, and nobody is perfect. We're really just immersed in Katniss's shoes of how she's feeling about this rebellion, this war that is forming, and you really just feel what she is feeling this uncertainty and not knowing what choice to make and what is right, because she is a 17-year-old girl at the helm of this, so it's, I can't imagine. And then also that another theme, war is complicated. It's not just black and white. There's not just a straight line with good and bad. That you can be from this place that's an awful place, like in this, the capital, but not be a bad person. People have dimensions, and people are not like their government, and that's something that people still to this day do not understand, that just because somebody's from a certain place, that doesn't mean they are like that. The Book Thief, right over there, is a great book for this, and that's a fiction book, and then a nonfiction would be The Complete Persepolis. Both go into those themes. We're realizing that the people of the capital are actually real people, take up all that outlandish makeup and hair and fashion, and they are real people. And it takes them taking off all of that for Katniss to realize they're real people. And it's also with these other people who are leading this military, that they are not just robots. They have emotions too. Even if in their job they have to, be straight-laced, perfect posture, all that they are underneath all that real people. And the pacing in this, going to the writing now, is very similar to what we see in Catching Fire, like kind of the longer chapters and everything, but there's more intrigue here because I just have so many questions about this world that Katniss has been immersed in now, because everything has just kind of like blown up, and we're having to readjust ourselves with this world all over again. And I did get an answer to my peacekeepers question. I don't remember if that was in this vlog or in last week's, but I was wondering where peacekeepers come from. So they predominantly come from the capital, and that is what the government wants everybody to believe, but it can be hard to convince these people who from this lavish lifestyle to go live a boring life in the districts of being a peacekeeper. So a lot of them also come from District 2 as well, because in District 2, that's where they really train to be in the Hunger Games. They volunteer to be in the Hunger Games. They're very bloodthirsty people. So to put those in like a military role obviously goes hand in hand. But those are my notes for Mockingjay for the day. Yes, I am really enjoying this. I am doing the audiobook. The audiobook has been going quite well for me. And hey guys, happy Thursday. I am now a quarter of the way into Misbehaving at the Crossroads. Sorry for getting the S's confused. But I do want to give you all my thoughts so far. It says 4-star vibes right now. It's not hitting the 5-star quality. My main complaint is that I just get confused with some of the essays. Now there is a family tree, because a lot of them just going into the author's family history, and we do have a family tree that is like this, where it's a list of the generations. And for me, I am more of a visual person, so I would have preferred if this was a chart. It would just be easier for me to understand if it was, like an actual tree, instead of just these lists. That is just kind of hard for me to comprehend, but I know everybody's going to have a different, everybody learns differently. I love those genealogical sections of just going into her family history and how that shapes us. But you don't necessarily, you can break a cycle. That's something that is in a lot of books that I love, is breaking a cycle and breaking that cycle of your family, of generational, I'm not going to say necessarily trauma all the time, but just breaking things and modernizing, I guess. a theme I've been reading a lot in the past few weeks has been history, and what is history, who makes history, and who gets left out of history. Because there is history that is this big definite thing of everything that has happened, but when it's written down is what I'm saying, of who gets left out, who writes it. And here it's Black women, and just how they have been, I don't know if objectified is the right word, but when there were, and just when I was saying about the right history, like the founding fathers being hypocritical of who is human, who do rights belong to, and at that time it was just straight white men, that they didn't even view Black women as being human. And it's just awful, awful, awful. I don't know if, as I said, if objectification is the right word for that, but it's so eye-opening. It's to be like it's obviously that it's there, but actually seeing it written down, it's just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, just how history is. Again, how I see there's this concept that is history, and then there's actual written history. I think that's two separate things, and I just had that thought just now of me thinking it's two separate things. But yeah, I am enjoying this. I would give it, again, a 4-star. I don't really do decimal ratings for my essay collections for nonfiction, so it is 4-star. I am loving it, and I recommend it. You can definitely tell. And it, okay, well, we'll start with what I had started to say, that you can definitely tell that this is the writer of love songs, like, because you never know when you read a fiction work by somebody and they're reading a nonfiction, but the writing style just flows over so well, and it's still told in such a poetic way. You can definitely tell that the author is a poet, and I do love the writing style. Like, one of my favorite writing styles ever. Like, writing does get a 5. I don't know, maybe with that confusion, would that fall under the writing category? Not sure, but again, I don't do Cowpal for nonfiction. But where was I going after that? This is why when I get sidetracked, I need to go with what I got sidetracked with. The writing, you can definitely tell. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, you can, I think, with every book, an author puts a little bit of their self in all of their books. Now, I'm not saying it's copy and paste that Love Songs was her life, because it wasn't. That wasn't her story, like, you know, her actual story, you know, like she wrote it, but you know what I'm saying, that it wasn't auto-fiction or whatever. But you can definitely just see how people put themselves into their work, into their art, and I do think that is fantastic. And I don't want to sound parasocial, but it makes you feel like you just are getting to know an author. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on Misbehaving at the Crossroads at 25%. Okay, so I'm currently going through another box. I'm just making a stack for me to take in. I could do it out here, but I didn't put on bug spray, so I am going to bring it in. So this so far is a stack of ones that I am donating, but I did want to say and donating could be Goodwill, they could be little free libraries, whatever. But like these, like where they were preparing for me, I am like, I feel kind of bad getting rid of, because this helped prepare the world for me. So then we have a book about miscarriages. We have a book about the Children's Miracle Network, which I am not remembering what that is. Christian book about the rapture. This book I actually already have. I got at a little free library, so we will take it to another one. Then a blood type encyclopedia. Yeah, I don't need that. Then another what to expect in the first year. So you are like, why this one? So I need to be careful. I'm not going to show anything, but these were like all, again, preparing for me to be born. These papers in here, I feel bad about taking the papers out of the book that they're in, but then these two books need to go together, you know, so I will just take the papers out. But the ones that I'm going to take inside to research, so again, that one, I almost put this in the unhaul pile, and I still might. Yeah, we will, just to help other women, but I most likely have that. I haven't had surgery to confirm, but yeah. Then this one I'm going to research. This is a true crime that happened here. This one, it says 9/11. So I don't know who John Edwards is. It looks like he's a TV guy, so we do need to do research and make sure he's cool. And then the Church of Dead Girls, which looks like a horror book. So these are the ones that we are going through first. Okay, so I did end up putting the what to expect in the first year back into the unhaul stack. So we have an unofficial guide to Walt Disney World 2000. These I'm really curious, like obviously this is 25 years old, like why would somebody want that? I don't know, but you know, a lot of people love Disney. So then we have several Danielle Stowe books. I am keeping one because I had her name in it, but we have Lightning, Malice, Changes, and it's going to be a while before I get rid of these, so if y'all think I need to keep any of these, let me know. But we have 5 Days in Paris, and then God's Little Devotional Book for Mothers, then the 36-Hour Day. This is for helping people with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have Staying Sober. We have My Drowning. This one kind of debating the power of positive thinking. Write It Down, Make It Happen. Three's Company, the TV show. Loose Screws, which is a fiction book. I was shocked by that cover. And then this is A Guide to Atlanta in 2003. So these are the ones that are being unhauled, but if you guys think I should keep any of these, let me know in the comments. I'm about 42% of the way in Mockingjay now, and I don't think I'm going to finish this book in a vlog. I think I will finish it over the weekend, so you know, stay tuned for my review on Goodreads and the other book social media sites. But I got to 42%, which was 81 pages read a day. Like when I saw like page 166, I was like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's going to be as many pages, but it's only 4 less than yesterday, so this is not a math mind over here. I don't have that many notes from the day, but I will read them. So there was this random thing of oh yeah, so they go to this place where it's being like used as a temporary hospital, because in the districts they do not have hospitals. That had me shook, because you know, they have the Justice Building, they have bakeries, they have like, you know, the school, and I'm like, but y'all don't have hospitals? Like they just expect you to deal with everything at home. There are healers, like Katniss's mom is a healer, but that is just so insane to me that there's no hospitals. Like, and it says the district, so I'm like, even in District 2, District 1, you know, the more rich districts. So that had me shocked. Also something kind of funny, so I can definitely see that Katniss is maturing as she takes on this role of being the leader or being the face of a rebellion, because she really thinks over what she says, especially when talking to you know, like she's talking to kids who are victims of this war, and she really has to be careful of what she tells them and everything, when in previous books she will just blurt out what she's thinking, and I think she definitely realizes there are consequences for her actions, and that's definitely in the second book, I think, is when that kind of, she's like, okay, there's gonna be consequences, but now she's really coming to terms that her actions, her words, especially being in this role of power, which people, influencers, YouTubers, politicians, I think a lot of them don't realize the power that they have. But we are seeing Katniss come to terms with being like, all these people look up to me, I need to be careful with what I say. But she's definitely still working on it. Again, she's a 17-year-old girl, and she has that fiery personality. Fred, I haven't seen you in hours. Where have you been? I think he's been upstairs, but let me move the laptop out of his way because I have a video uploading and I do not want him to press the keys. But no, see, he went right for the laptop. But yeah, so she's still working on it, because she still can be kind of impulsive with her actions, but with her words, she is getting better. My next note is Pollux, who is a character. He is one of the people in the rebellion, and he is an AVOX, and I think we talked about AVOXs in last week's vlog, but they are people who were criminals. Usually they are ones who what is the word? It's a basic word. They go a traitor. They are a traitor to the government, and the government cuts their tongue out and makes them essentially a slave, like doing like you know, putting food on the table, like, and you know, housework. And so he had his tongue cut out, and we have this scene of him, they're eating lunch, and he's like pointing to a bird, and Katniss is like, yeah, that's a mockingjay. And so mockingjays are like mockingbirds. You sing and they can do that same tune. So Pollux, he does a whistle, and the mockingjays do the whistle back, and he just lights up because, again, he doesn't have a tongue. So Katniss is like, this is probably the first real conversation he's had in years where it's, vocal. And that just, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. The Capitol messing up, where I'm like, y'all, this is your fault. This is your fault. But I wonder, because they've talked about District 13, how before the war that started the series, it was where they made, graphite was their main thing, but they also made nukes, and it was founded in this this bunker. There was a bunker there that was an old government bunker, so I'm thinking, from our time. And I'm wondering, did Pan Am start in District 13? Because we think nuclear war happened, and that is what led to Pan Am, it rose from the ashes from that. And I'm wondering, did they all rise from the bunkers in District 13? So also something I was watching, again, the girl, I can never say her name, on TikTok was saying like her book recommendations, and Milana is her name, and she recommended The Hunger Games, and she was like, when she read it when she was 10 years old for the first time, that she just wanted Katniss and Peeta to fall in love and to win the games. And now as an adult, she's like, that is not what this story is. This story is about totalitarian government and how that is not ideal. And she's like, that is what Suzanne Collins wants to call you out, that we are like the people in the Capitol who are all, rooting for the love story, wanting them to win the games and that kind of thing. And that is how the people in the Capitol are. And we are like them. Now, at the same time, I'm like, she was 10 years old. I was 12 years old when I read this for the first time. Little kids, I don't think, can comprehend those themes. I mean, some of them might be really brilliant and can, but definitely me and my friends, we did not pick up on those themes. At least I don't think they did. We never talked about it anyway. I don't want to generalize, saying their thoughts when I don't really know. Yeah, so that was a really interesting take that I saw. But I did, so y'all know this is my original copy that I read back in 2012. And I had this bookmark that is from 2005. I don't know when I got it, but a teacher gave us these, I remember. I don't know if it was from an AR test or something, AR's accelerated reader. But this quote is so true. My friend and I wrote down our favorite parts, the pages that they're on the back there. So yes, but the quote on here, it says, the more you read, the more you know. And my dad would tell me that all the time, but okay. The more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the smarter you grow. The smarter you grow, the stronger your voice when speaking your mind or making your choice. So true, and that is the power of reading and why I recommend reading to everyone. Time for the end of the vlog, and I'm finishing my second book of the week, being Madam. I actually haven't seen how many pages I've read or anything like that. We're gonna go through my thoughts for this. So I didn't like this book. It didn't do a whole lot for me, and it's definitely going to have a low rating. The character work is definitely where my issues were. We have Rose, who has a savior complex, but also just so two-faced. It's not a solid personality that she has, because sometimes she's lacking empathy towards these girls, and then other times she has that savior complex where she's like, I gotta save them, I gotta break this system. And it was just whiplash, being like, which Rose are we going to get in this chapter? Also, with the side characters, there are a lot of characters here. We are at a boarding school, an all-girl boarding school, so all those students are teenage girls, and just having to tell who's who got overwhelming. And then with the teachers, there are like 2 males. There's more, but that we actually hear about in the story. We have Anthony, who is like a history teacher, and then the headmaster. So I don't even know if we get the headmaster's name, but It was just, yeah, the side characters weren't developed enough. Atmosphere was, it didn't do a whole lot, but it wasn't bad. So again, atmosphere is getting like a 2. When, yeah, characters are getting a 1. But with the atmosphere, it's in Scotland. You would think it would be so atmospheric because we are, I mean, it is kind of claustrophobic because they are on this, I don't know if it's an island. Yeah, it's an island because they talk about the mainland, and the mainland being another island being, you know, I don't know what the main, is it called Britain? I don't know, but you know where Scotland is, going back to the mainland of Scotland. So, yeah, it didn't do a whole lot for me in that department. The writing was fine. I have no complaints about the writing. And I actually do like how we would have excerpts of the classic stories, rather it be Greek, Roman, that are being taught to the students. And that leads us into the plot where, again, the plot I would give a 3. I do like how the classic stories reflected what was happening in our actual story, and I liked that. And I also think there's a metaphor of, we are trying to break a system here. Again, that's a theme that seems to be coming up in the reading this week. But the system of, like, I don't, I didn't read the blurb of this, so I don't know what is said or not, but breaking a system of the, what would we say? Patriarchy of, like, it's, the school's very old-fashioned, very Victorian. I would say we're in the 1990s, and it's the British, like, class system, the British nobility, of how they have roles of what a woman should be like, and it's trying to break those social constructs. So that is like what is happening here. It does go deeper, but I don't want to spoil it because this is a thriller. And we're seeing that that is so hard to break. It is so hard for one person to do that. And it really, the metaphor that I'm talking about is how it's so hard for a woman, or anybody, because anybody can be abused, you know, to come forward and have people believe them, and how hard it is to actually get justice. So I do think that I did like the themes that were here. Yeah, the character work, I wasn't a fan of the character work. This is also a series. I don't know if the sequel has come out, but with the way it ended, and then on Goodreads it is a series, and I do not think it needs to be a series. I think it would have been fine ending it how we did, but that's not what the author wanted to do. So let's wrap up the vlog. I don't know if I talked about my thoughts on the Catching Fire movie, but I do think the movie was better than the book. It's better than the first movie as well. I don't remember, they switched some people, you know, behind the scenes, and I do think that was a positive switch. I saw that I finished Catching Fire this week, so that's why I was like, oh, did I talk about the movie? And with Mockingjay, there's 2 Mockingjay movies. I actually own the first one on DVD. I don't know how I'm gonna go about. I'm gonna watch both once I finish the book, but okay. So we have finished 2 books this week, Catching Fire and then Madam. We have read, or I have read, over 100 pages 2 days this week, and that I should today as well, because I've already read over 90 pages today. But yes, on Tuesday I only read 90 pages rather than over 100 pages, but I am, you know, happy with what I have done this week, because I have finished 2 books. When last week I think I had only finished 1 book. Yeah, so we are definitely already doing better than last week. There's no theme to next week's vlog or anything. We will probably be reading the first book in the Hunger Games universe that is not going to be a reread for me. We're going to be reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Is that the name? I have never read it. So that's going to be kind of nerve-wracking because I'm going into uncharted, unfamiliar territory, so I am kind of nervous, but I've been really enjoying this read. I've been loving these books, so hopefully that continues with the 2 newer books in the series. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave a beachy emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.